We start with a play. This is the 10-minute play that we first read called Pieces by Shira Harrell.
I know you like getting out on your own and everything, and Carol agrees with me on this. You really shouldn't be driving anymore. Okay, I think it's time to sell the car.
You think so?
Yes, with your eyesight and the hip surgery.
With all due respect, dear, I know when I need to give up driving. I'm fine for now.
No, you're not.
Are you asking me to do this or telling me?
I'm saying that it's not safe
I understand what you're saying.
and that you need to sell the car.
I'm fine.
No, you're not. You're not fine to drive. You haven't been fine for at least 2 years. You can't use the car anymore. Carol and I have looked at places to sell it, and
Carol and you?
yes, and we can get a good price for it. So,
I'm not a child.
I know.
I don't think you do.
I was just,
I am your mother.
okay. I'm sorry.
You don't need to be sorry. We all yell sometimes.
No, I'm sorry you can't go sailing. Ma, you're getting so old.
It's okay. That you're scared. Losing someone doesn't happen all at once, dear. It's happened piece by piece. I think this may be one of those pieces.
So the new work created from this 10-minute play, the theme being personhood, is a piece by Nicole Cunningham called White. The characters are Julia, who is 16, Lily, who is her mother, is 49, and Dr. Hofstede, who is 36. Lights up on a patient room in a pediatrician's office. We see Julia seated at the examination table, and Lily, her mother, situated in the corner on a regular chair.
I hate this color.
You hate white?
Well, I wouldn't mind it as much if it wasn't just everywhere.
It's not everywhere, Mom.
Look at it. It's on the walls, the floor, the cabinets.
Just look at the painting, Mom.
Lily looks over at it immediately and turns away.
What?
It has white in it.
There's a knock at the door. Dr. Hofstede doesn't wait for an answer and immediately comes in.
Hello there, Julia.
Hi, Dr. Hofstede.
Mrs. Livingston, nice to see you again as always.
It's Miss Livingston now.
Oh, well, I'm sorry to hear that. Better luck with round 2, huh? So, Julia, you've been having some stomach problems lately?
Yes, I've been vomiting, but I'm not sure what's causing it.
How often is this occurring? How many times a day?
It usually happens 2 times.
Every day, once a day.
All right, and
Wait.
what?
I'm vomiting twice a day.
But your mother just said once a day.
I know, but it's been happening twice a day.
I'm sorry, I don't know who to believe then.
Please, Dr. Hofstede, it's been happening twice a day.
Once.
Mom, why are you saying that?
Because I see you in the morning and you're throwing up. And that's it. You don't throw up the rest of the day. I don't understand. You are lying to the doctor, sweetie.
Hofstede is clearly listening to the mother and taking down notes.
No, Mom. Dr. Hofstede, it is twice a day. I usually throw up again when she's at work after I eat dinner around 5.
So let's say it's once a day.
It's twice!
Lily, Julia, don't interrupt him.
Stop telling him that it's only one.
Whoa, okay. Regardless of the amount of times per day, I'm going to need a blood sample. Let me get one from you real quick, Julia, and I'll be back in 5 minutes, okay?
Dr. Hofstede moves over to Julia and gets a blood sample. He gathers quickly all of his materials and heads out the door.
I can't do this anymore.
Well, I can see that. If you're not going to tell the right information to the doctor, then I guess I'm just going to have to do it.
It's not wrong information. I told you, when you're at work, it happens.
Well, why didn't you tell me just before we came into the doctor's office?
Because of this, Mom.
Because of what?
This 16-year-old girl still seeing the pediatrician with her mother.
I thought you liked Dr. Hofstede.
I do. It's just, I think I can be an individual now. I think I have the right to be an individual now, at least. Look, Mom, I don't know how to say this, but ever since the divorce, you've gotten much more involved in my life, and not in a bad way, just it's very different having you around me this much, and I'm not sure how to handle it.
It's been difficult for all of us, Julia.
I know, but sometimes
What is it, sweetie?
Sometimes I feel like it's easier for you to assume that I'm happy than ask if I'm happy. Just like sometimes you assume things about my life, like my health, instead of just asking. All you have to do is ask.
You think that I assume that you're happy?
In all honesty, yes. Especially with the,
I've been so wrapped up in my head about the whole thing, you couldn't understand.
See, that's what I'm talking about. You just said I couldn't understand. Why? Because I'm too young? Because I've never been in love? Mom, please try to explain it to me. I promise I will try to understand.
Yes, okay, I think this is good. This is good, what we're doing right now. I want to tell you something, but it doesn't leave this room, all right?
Okay.
On the night your father said he wanted a divorce, he wrote me an essay. He wrote me a 30-page essay explaining all of the things about me that bothered him. Please, Julia, let me explain this. I want to. He wrote me that essay, and I read the whole thing top to bottom when we were both in the room. I couldn't really pinpoint all of the emotions that hit me at that time. They were all coming at me so fast I didn't know what to do. You know that I'm not one to make rash decisions, but I did at that time, and I just pulled out a cigarette from your father's desk and started smoking. You know I don't smoke, but in that moment, it sure as hell was the right answer. So I smoked, and he said, "Put that away. You can't do that." And I told him, "I'm 49 years old and can do whatever the hell I want. When do I get to grow up?"
Thank you
For what?
for not assuming and just telling me.
I do admit, I've been wrapped up in all this, and I probably just assumed that you were going to be okay because I had been through that. Do you understand a little more?
Yes, because you told me.
Dr. Hofstad should be back in a minute. Tell him what you need to tell him.
Thanks.
Speaking of sharing, was that an acceptance letter from New Mexico I saw on your desk the other day?
Yes,
Why do you want to go all the way there for?
they have a great engineering program.
So there's the university across the street.
I want to work at this new airline company over in London after I graduate. I want to go to the best school I possibly can.
There's a perfectly good airline right across the street too. London, huh? You would have to call me every day.
I know.
I've lost one. I can't lose you.
I know. You won't.
What?
This room's too white.
Blackout. The second piece, also from the same play with the same theme, personhood, is titled Growing Up. This one is by Shira Harold, and the actress is Elaine.
Son, all my life, I've been treated like a child. When I was young, it was because of the color of my skin. I wasn't supposed to know the things I knew. I wasn't supposed to be able to do the things I did because I was a black woman. This one time, I needed a pair of dress shoes to go to New York, to a new school. I went to this department store to get leather shoes with my money and my coupons. The store owner did not want me getting those shoes. He brings me a different pair, and I said, I don't want those. I want the other ones. I point again to the ones I want, and he says, everyone else is wearing these. I said, I don't want those. I want the leather ones. Sir, may I please have the ones I asked for? And he turned purple. Do you know how much money a pair of shoes like these cost? I said, I have the money, Do you know how many coupons that is? I said, I have the coupons. That night after I fought with him for half an hour to get the shoes, I told my mother, I can't wait till I'm older and I can get out of this place. Or remember, a couple of years ago, I was having that pain on my right side. I went to the doctor like you told me. But I didn't tell you what happened, did I? So I go in and I tell the doctor I came in for the pain on my right side. And he checked everything else. You know, blood pressure, temperature, height, weight, the inside of my ears, all this other stuff. Then want to talk about shots. I should get a flu shot, a pneumonia shot, a tetanus shot. I need to get a mammogram. I'm something else. And finally, he's getting ready to get out the door. Like he finished, and I say, wait a minute. I've got all this pain in my right side. And you've talked about everything else. And he says, oh, I forgot. That's been almost 2 years ago, and I haven't been back to a doctor since. And I'm looking at you now. Since you were 17, you've acted like you think you're my father. You're always saying things like, don't lift it if it's over 20 pounds. I know how to lift it with my knees, how to use my buttocks to lift it or push it. I know all these things. I had to do these things when you couldn't do it, when you could do nothing. And I know you don't mean to put me down or cut me down. You just don't want me to hurt myself. But look, I'm gonna be in 83 in a month, and you're telling me I can't have a glass of beer? When exactly do I get to be a grown-up?
Now we move to the second 10-minute play. It's called A Second Round, written by Madeline Hendricks. The characters are Lucy, Tara, and Caroline.
No, see, this is what I'm talking about, Grandma. This is the plight of my generation. We have too much freedom. One little bump in the road that I don't even understand, and he ends it.
Calm down, sweetie. Lucy, you're upset. This is understandable, but your generation is no different from mine, except you have more choices. You're luckier.
Why? We can go off and date thousands of people and take decades to figure it out, and then we wait too long and end up with no one. Or we finally find the one and we end it at the first sign of disaster.
Maybe there shouldn't be any disasters in the first place. But it's a gift, Lucy. I never had any of those choices.
And you were happily married for 43 years. Do you know who lasts that long anymore? Look at you, Mom. So Dad sleeps with someone else. Big whoop. If that happened to Grandma, she would have stayed with him.
Lucy!
It's true! Marriage used to be sacred till death do you part. And now we just take our sweet time finding Mr. Perfect because we're taught that we deserve everything. And then one day you wake up all alone with a bunch of cats because you never worked hard enough at your relationships because no one taught you that you had to.
Listen to me. I was lucky to end up with your grandfather. I didn't love him when I married him, but I fell in love with him because he was a good man and he was good to our children. But I had friends who were stuck in terrible marriages that they could not get out of. Friends who were far from in love. Some were lonely, depressed, in love with someone else. And they couldn't do anything about it. What could they do? Leave? Divorce was unheard of in those days. And where would they go? Back to their father is where. Now I'm not saying these things don't happen today. Of course they do. But women sure as hell had more rights than they did. We're on the road to somewhere. So don't you keep going on about how lucky we were back then. You had nothing, we had nothing, and you have everything. So you just shut your mouth. I don't want to hear another word.
End of scene. The theme that came from this play, written by Madeline, is relationships. This next piece, created from that theme, is called What I'll Lose by Shira Harold.
Mostly, I miss going to the theater with my grandma. Everything I could think of that could bring her smiles, I would do. I remembered that she had a lot growing up because she was an only child and her mom had loved spoiling her, so I wanted to spoil her too.
A year ago, my daughter emailed me saying she wasn't going to be talking to me so much anymore. I'm not sure what I did, and she didn't say, just that she wasn't going to be talking to me so much anymore. It was too hard for her. I don't think I'll ever know why. I just let it be and pray I haven't lost her forever, just for now.
It was my first loss, that divorce. After it, our lives changed so drastically. Ma worked all the time, and we very seldom saw her, and she got to a place where she drank a lot. I basically erased myself from that time up until now.
I think my friend lost herself a long time before we all lost her. It wasn't obvious if you weren't looking closely, and I wasn't. But in retrospect, I think there was a sort of shrinking, a retreat from herself, farther and farther away, like she wanted to somehow lose herself in the confines of existence.
When my wife got very sick with her cancer, I took care of her so much that she told the neighbor, I never thought that he would do all these things for me. But when I reflect on the times we had together, I find how lacking I was in showing my feelings and love for her. Every now and then, there are these certain situations where I find my love is not there. And I think, oh, I am so sorry. I wish I'd said this or that. These are the things you will reflect when you lose someone that you really care for.
Now that I'm older, I realize that Ma drank because she was hurting from the divorce. But it was very hard. I just lost the feeling of needing to exist. Living wasn't a question, existing was all I could handle. Most of my life I felt that loss. I think I only started existing again when I realized all the things I had found and been given, all the love I'd discovered that had filled that hole.
When I was 9 years old, I learned what it was like to lose myself. World War II, my dad was working in the shipyards. And somewhere there he met a woman who he thought was more important than my mom and me. I still believe he was a very good person, always was. He never married this woman who wasn't my mom.
And after my wife died, I could not relate to other women as I did to her. I have loads of women friends. We hug and kiss and do things together, but to me it doesn't mean it's real love, because I cannot give myself to them, nor they to me. It is that all-out decision to be for a person that you define as your love.
I made all kinds of sacrifices for my daughter. Anything she wanted to do, I tried to do for her. I don't understand what she thinks I did to hurt her. I keep thinking how much I want to hear her voice, how much I miss her. But I do believe if I'm patient and loving, she'll come back. I don't think a mother who really loves her daughter can ever truly lose her.
I remember one Mother's Day my mom was working, so I took my grandma to see a show. We got all dressed up in glitzy jewelry and went to this fancy restaurant beforehand. My grandma said, with the medicine I take, I think it's okay for me to have a glass of wine. And even though I wasn't so sure myself, I said, do it. And I'm so glad I did, because the next year she wasn't there.
So my dad divorced my mom, and there I was. What the hell? Sure, eventually I had two families, and they both tried to get me to feel like I was part of them. But it never quite worked. I felt that I didn't exist for a long time. A long time.
For a long time after my friend died, I was afraid of death, the end result of it all. Lately, though, I've thought of the process that she went through, the slow release of the ties that bound her to the world, or the things my grandparents have given up. Skiing, sailing, walking, their independence, their friends, their moms and dads. I'm not afraid of dying anymore. I'm afraid of what what I'll lose along the way.
End of piece. And one more new piece about relationships, this one by Madeline Hendricks. The characters are Danny, who is 21, and Barb, her grandmother.
You haven't lived long enough to know you have a love of your life just now.
Okay, he's the only person I've ever loved, but if I died tomorrow, he would by law be the love of my life.
Well, in my life there have been 3 people like that. In high school there was your grandfather, and well, there's one that's happening right now.
What? Grandma, that's so cute.
Well, it's been a long time coming. It wasn't romantic at first, just a good friendship. Didn't become romantic for maybe 17 years. Half of those years I was a nun.
You met him in the convent?
It took years before it became a different relationship. He caught my eye the first time I saw him, of course. And I was a religious sister, so I had to sit on that one. And you do suppress things. You do make choices in life. And we continue to do that.
You should write a book.
But you know, if I'd met him 40 years ago, we probably would have had the same problems that he and his wife had. Now we're older, the tempers have cooled a bit, and we can see things in the long view.
Yeah, tempers. I always thought if you just really love someone, everything works out. But it's not even about love in the end.
Tell me about this boy.
Grandma, it's just so high and so low, and I'm exhausted. I can't live with him, can't live without him.
Well, you'd better figure out what the problems are, or they'll repeat themselves in another relationship.
Our problems?
Your problems.
But I've tried to avoid the drama and date someone nice and normal, and all I could do was think about him. I was just bored out of my mind. But, you know, I can't marry someone who argues with me all the time like he does. It's just never ending, Grandma.
Just join a convent.
Do you think it's just about living in the moment, you know, not worrying about the future?
Yes. Don't worry about marriage now. Your career comes first, no matter what. Unless he's engaged to you, he has no say in what goes on.
And if I move to Portland?
If you go and he wants to come, you can't tell him not to. If he can follow you if he wants.
Yeah, but I will kill him in Portland. I mean, he will ruin my career. But I love him. I can't explain it, and I know it's because I'm young and stupid, but I'm just so tired.
You need to do what you need to do. And he needs to do what he needs to do. And if that works out, and you come back together, I'd be surprised, but
I think we need therapy.
I think you can do it for yourself. When people are angry, there's usually something beyond that. Just get past what you think the fights are about. What is it really about?
His mother.
See, I don't even know him, but that's why I asked.
Don't you wish it was just as simple as you fall in love with someone and then everything works out?
No, that would be boring.
But like with your current man, see, if I met this guy in 20 years, we'd probably be very happy together.
You should do the Empire State Building thing.
What?
Well, where they decide 30 years from now, if I'll meet you there, and if we're both free, we'll see how it works.
This is so depressing.
I can't say there isn't a sadness to it. You have as much heartache as you have love, and anger. You cannot be angry with someone you do not love.
I think I need to be alone.
You need some time separate, so you can maintain an identity of your own. I see people do that in every generation. They just can't separate themselves and have their own identity. Do that, and if you come together again, just never go to bed angry.
Yeah.
Or just join a convent.
End of piece. This is our third play, written by Ed Churchill. It's called Writing Straight with Crooked Lines. Eric and Ed enter with a table and chairs stacked on top. They set it in the kitchen area at Charlene's.
Can I offer you guys a drink, some bread?
Oh, I couldn't.
We'd love some. Thank you.
Charlene and Grace set the bread and drinks on the table. They sit for a moment to eat and drink. Charlene leans against the kitchen counter for the following conversation.
So, how long have you been here?
Got out the shelter a month ago.
The shelter?
Father Bill's place. It's homeless shelter in Quincy. Stayed there 3 years.
And then you've been sleeping on the floor here for a month?
Well, the ADA helped me out to get out of the shelter. Got me a good deal on this place, but I didn't qualify as disabled enough for any kind of stipend, so I couldn't get any furniture.
Not disabled enough? Are you kidding me?
I'm blind, but I'm not completely broken.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're right, but it's hard to get help around here. You're never poor or disabled enough to qualify, and if you are, they give you just enough to get by, but not enough to get out. You guys were the only ones who didn't ask questions, just showed up. Thank God my sister heard about you.
How did she hear about us, by the way? Boston is actually a little outside of our range.
A guy she worked with, Phil something, Burns maybe?
Phil Burns. Wow. I haven't seen Phil in years. He was my roommate in college.
Strange how those things work out.
Nothing strange about it. There's an old Portuguese saying, God writes straight with crooked lines. No such thing as coincidences. Now, Ed, what do you say we get the rest of this place filled in, huh?
Yeah, let's do it.
End of scene. The theme, again, for this play, the theme is personhood. And this piece is called There Goes the Neighborhood, also written by Ed Churchill.
It was horrible. I lived in Detroit. It was pretty bad back then. The bad part was the way in some neighborhoods that the African American or black people or whatever you want to call us took it all, especially after Martin Luther King was assassinated. I remember the next morning they burned down everything they could burn down. My grandmother was in the hospital that day, and we had to walk about 6 blocks because the buses weren't running through that area. They had burned down the shopping center. The buses went through. It was the stupidest stuff I'd ever seen in my life. I was so disappointed and disgusted with the human race that they could do this. I would hear people say, oh, this is just payback. We used to be slaves. Don't tell me about once upon a time we were enslaved. There's no reason to destroy everything. I don't belong to people like that. They are not my people. My people wouldn't do that. You get even through the law. That's what I always told my children. It was crazy, and it kept me moving a lot. If I was in a neighborhood and the demographics changed, I had to move on. There was this one place we moved into. It was beautiful, the best neighborhood you can think of. Our neighbors looked like the world. Then this real estate agent started scaring all the older white folks away. This guy, I'm telling you, he would tell these scared old white folks that the neighborhood was changing, that the black folks were going to come in and there goes the neighborhood. So he convinced these people to sell their houses for way less than they were worth. Then he'd take it and sell it at a higher price to a poorer family. But I had a pastor. He was an activist. We got busy and we ran that real estate agent out of town. Oh, I used to love working with that pastor. JC, I used to call him, and he'd call me GT. I said to him all the time, you honed all my activist skills. I had them all the time, but you taught me how to use them. I even stopped saying, I probably shouldn't tell you this. I don't pledge allegiance to the flag. There's the part that starts talking about liberty and justice for all. But I have to think about, who's the all? Who is the all? Because it wasn't me. If you weren't affected by it, you didn't really think about it. And we were standing in this meeting about to testify to try and get funds for people who needed help. I said to him, JC, I cannot pledge allegiance. You know all the stuff I've been through. I cannot say with liberty and justice for all, because that's a lie, and I'm not telling that lie anymore.
End of scene. And the final play is written by Nicole Cunningham. It's called 29. In this scene, Ingrid and her grandfather hang out on a Saturday night. Ingrid is stressed about her 30th birthday coming up in a week or so.
I love this. I love just sitting here relaxing with you, watching a game. And you want to know something? I hate baseball. Yeah, I said it. I despise baseball, but I could care less because I'm watching it with you, and you make me laugh because you make fun of it sometimes, and then Tommy will make some stupid remark, and then you'll retort with something witty, and life is good this way. This is a good life. I like it. I love spending my Saturday nights with you. I look forward to it every week like you have no idea.
So then why do you want to go on acting out like other 29-year-olds?
Because it's as if I'm missing life or something. Like, if I don't act like an actual 29-year-old, then there's a piece missing. A piece of my life has floated away because I didn't know how to act my age at the time.
Did you know that I've been called too young for my age?
What? You mean like what you tell Tommy?
Yes, but he's different. Anyway, I've been told that I'm too young for my own age, even from your grandmother. You don't see me much except for on Saturdays. I know it's because I live a ways away. But every night I'm in my shop and I'm building toys for kids. Not necessarily for them, but for me. See, I never wanted to grow up, which is why I became a carpenter and made toys. I'm a kid. I'm a big kid. Your grandma would use less kind words. When I was growing up, I never really was my age. At 30, I was acting like a 16-year-old. At 60, I was acting like a 30-year-old. And now at 73, I feel like a 60-year-old. Hell, sometimes I act like a 12-year-old. Even now, the point really is the number may change, but you don't have to. As long as you're in pursuit of happiness, then you are immortal. And age doesn't matter much to immortals, does it?
Ingrid smiles at this and is taking it to heart. Nick brings out a present for her from earlier.
Grandpa, my birthday's not for another week.
I know. I know how much you've been struggling with this whole age thing, and I know how much you dread birthdays. So I thought I'd give it to you early. It's something I thought we could both do tonight. And well, with age, I just thought, you know.
Ingrid opens her present to find a box of Legos. She's happy, maybe even tearful about the gift.
Since you're too old and I'm too young, I figured we'd just both give up tonight and be 5-year-olds. Oh, you're welcome, Gigi. You're welcome, Gigi.
They both sit on the floor opposite each other and start building with their Legos. Just for the night. Good job. Becoming 5-year-olds, the 5-year-olds that they really are. End of scene. The theme from this play was Acting Your Age, or What About My Generation? This new work was written by Ed Churchill. It's called Step Aside.
What are you doing? Standing there on the world stage talking about some grand and glorious past, acting like life used to be golden, but somewhere along the way it all got messed up. I won't tell that lie. You built a nation. You built a world. And now you're going to leave it to us. It was you, the politicians, the lawmakers, the executives of the generation before us that set us on this path. Now look at us. We, the youth, grind through the day-to-day, all the while spewing more filth into the air, boiling ourselves alive in the greenhouse gases of your poor planning, while you all sit above the world, viewing the nation from the top. There is so much beneath your feet that you cannot see. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer, the hungry grow hungrier, and the sick grow sicker. The generation that passed this world to you goes forgotten and uncared for, and the generation you pass it on to struggles to get educated, enlightened, employed. I won't tell your lie. Trillions of dollars in debt, toxic air to breathe, a nation at war, ravaged by gun violence, struggling to come back from the brink. A nation steeped in bigotry and divided among party lines, more concerned with what happens inside the bedrooms of two people in love than with the thousands who go hungry every night. A nation crying out in pain. This is what you leave us with? Really? This is what you give us as you pinch our cheeks and tell us, you are the future. Well, fine. We'll take it. We'll take the failures you lay at our feet and we will turn them into challenges. And those challenges will become our victories. We won't sit by and watch while those that came before us fall away, forgotten, hidden, unheard. We won't hear the cry of a hungry child at night and walk on by as if it was simply a chirping bird on the breeze. You might say I'm angry. You might even say I am furious. I am. But if we, the youth, are brash and loud and boisterous, maybe you will listen. It's the only way you listen to each other. And to be honest, we're just trying to get into the game. Can you hear us now? As we occupy Wall Street, Washington, the capital of the nation, and the capitals of every state. Those footsteps coming up the stairs, those hopeful voices in the distance, that's us. We, the youth. We're coming now to take the nation you leave us. We're coming and we will not be turned away. So you keep telling your lie, because when it is finally our turn to look to our children and say, you are the future, we will do it with the knowledge that what we give to them will be far better than what was left to us.
End of scene. Another piece of new work from this same theme, Acting Your Age, written by Madeline Hendricks.
You know that someone had to remind me it was my birthday last week. I hadn't even thought about it. I was so involved with my sister. She's not well, you know. My friend told me, well, what are you going to do for your birthday? I said, when is my birthday? She laughed and she said, honey, it's tomorrow. So yeah, I'm thinking, once we get out of this, I just need 2 weeks to do me. 'Cause you know, they say her condition is fatal. That's my sister's. I want to ask the doctor questions, but I can't. There's something in me that just can't, 'cause my sister almost died on me already, a few weeks ago. She called me and told me she wasn't feeling well, and that she needed to go to the hospital. So I got her in the car, and then my daughter, she was with us, and she just started screaming and wouldn't stop. I turned around and my sister was having a convulsion or something, and I thought, oh my God, what is going on here? What's happening? I knew she went to the doctor regularly, but you know, she doesn't tell us a lot. I looked over there and she stopped shaking. She turned dark. I just knew she was gone. I know she was gone. Man, I lifted my hands up to the God, and then I laid my hands on her, and I started praying. And I prayed like never before. And finally, air started going back into her stomach. Later I said to myself, why didn't I think to do mouth to mouth? But she came back. That did something to me. And it's something I can't kind of shake. After I got her to the hospital that day, I cried, and I cried, and I cried. You can't imagine how much I cried. But you know, it's all in your mind. Because people in the medical field, they have our minds thinking that we have to accept this sickness or that because you're of a certain age. But you don't have to accept that. It's all in your thinking. I heard of a woman who's 86 years old and walking on a tightrope. The only reason you could tell she was old was because of some wrinkles on her hands. I want to be like that. But yeah, another birthday, another year. I must buy me a tightrope.
foundation of all of our themes. It touches on personhood, relationships, acting your age. It was written by Nicole Cunningham, and it's called Push Pull. We see Lauren on stage. There is both a younger version of herself and an older version. The younger Lauren is 16 and just beginning her relationship with Rob. The older Lauren is 61 and just ending her relationship with the same Rob.
I'm divorcing you, Rob. Rob, we know each other and that's it. You knock on the door and find me there and say, "Hi, darling, how are you?"
I'm good. How are you? Come in. My parents aren't home. I'm kidding. Rob, you know it's only our third date. You think too much, you know that? You've never called me Lori before. I like it. Keep it, will ya?
I'm trying to remember what you called me. You had a nickname for me. I lost it and I can't get it back. And after 10 years, you started calling me Lauren again. And not that nickname anymore. And I knew. That's when I should have ended it, Rob. Your love just isn't there. And I keep telling myself, I wish I'd said...
Don't ever stop calling me Lori. I'll hold you to that. Because the moment you start calling me Lauren again, I'll know we're not in love. So, are we taking the Volkswagen to dinner? Or... Oh, your mom's driving us. Hi, Mrs. H. Let me just grab my purse.
God, what was the name? What was the name? It was our third date. No, fourth, fifth? I don't know. I remember your mom drove, and I was only 16, and I gave you something. God, what was it? I'm trying so hard, Rob. I'm trying to remember a place where you and I were happy, and I can't. I just can't. These are the things you reflect on when you lose someone you care for. These memories, and I can't get them back.
I wanted to give you this poem. It's nothing much, but I care about you, and I know it's only our third date, but I wanted to write you something, and well, here, you see, this is going to sound crazy, but...
I remember my 16-year-old self and saying something like,
all I want in my day is to be able to be around you and give you anything to make you happy. There is never a thought of, oh, are you going to do something nice for an anniversary? Oh, are you going to get me a present for this?
Oh, are you going to pay for a date? It's always...
I want to give you this because I saw it and it reminded me of you. I want to see you and see how your day is going. It's the greatest feeling, Rob.
But what do I know? I may not even have said it. And there's this big question mark as to how we understand relationships with one another. But in that moment, I had no question mark because...
This is what I know. I love you.
I give and I give to you. And there's this hole left where a person used to be. And to bring that person back would be just as futile as keeping a hold of this marriage. I'm committed as a person to helping anybody. If I see a man with a heavy bag, I will help him, disregarding if it's even too heavy for me. But you are the person that stays back.
So generous. You're so generous. Don't ever let me forget that. Thanks so much for paying the bill, Rob. So generous.
I'm still mad about things that happened 30 years ago. And you're still mad about things that happened 10 years ago. Do you think that if we met tomorrow, none of this stuff would have happened and we would have been happy together? It's just that we can't see each other for who we truly are. There's never been a question of how much we love each other.
You love me this much? I love you this much?
It's never been questioned. And there's a lot to be said for that. We just fell in love with each other very, very quickly. But we just cannot. We just fight. And it's so sad because when we were young, we just thought...
If you just love someone, everything will work out.
But now it's more how you get along with somebody. And I logically can't understand why.
I love you so much.
And it hasn't worked. We spent 45 years together, and I'm trying to figure out if it's a giving thing or an acceptance thing or an age thing, or just because I just hate you this much.
Hey, so after dinner, I have an idea. my parents will be home, but I was wondering if you wanted to do something fun, like Legos. No? Come on. What are you, 90 years old? It's not stupid. Me and my dad used to do it all the time. He's an engineer, and in my younger days, he was the one that brought out the Legos. He still brings out the Legos. He always used to encourage me to build my own things. We still have this map of the street and stuff, and we used to just build on it together. Come on, even if it's just for half an hour, let's just be kids. I'm not being childish. Doing that kind of thing is actually kind of what makes me feel my own age. So, come on, let's trash this restaurant and do Legos.
No, you said. That's childish and stupid, and I won't take any part in it. You're being 5. Come on, grow up. Huh. Funny how I remembered that part of the date. Our fate was sealed with a conversation about Legos. Sounds silly, doesn't it? Well, the truth is, Rob, you've never accepted that part of me, that 5-year-old part of me, and our contract, it seems, has expired. Maybe it never really existed, I don't know. But I will tell you this, I will never stop fighting. I will not stop fighting to pull the memories from my 16-year-old self in hope of one day feeling happy again. And I will never stop fighting to push the memories that I've created with you these past 10 years away from me. And that push is why I'm leaving you. But I will pull and pull and pull until I can't pull anymore. Until not only my heart but my mind is broken from pulling so much memory back from when we started, in hope that I will become at peace with myself and tell myself I made the right decision in my life, even though it's all over. It's worth that much to me, the passion we had back then. It was the only time I've ever felt
Pure love.
And our final scene, based again on this same thing of acting your age. It's called Lines, written by Nicole Cunningham. A 65-year-old lovely man, Archie, sits next to his 5-year-old granddaughter at a table with a piece of paper in front of them.
Now I'm going to draw a line. See? Now I'm going to give you the pen. Hey, wait a minute. Let me explain. Okay. So romantic, aren't you? Just like your mother. Now I have drawn the line. Now what are you going to do with it? Hey, easy. I'm kidding. Go crazy. So many squiggles, my goodness. I see, yeah. Oh, now it's my turn. Okay. Here's the circle. Now what are you going to do with that circle? I see. Beautiful. Keep drawing. I don't ever want you to lose this. What I mean is when you see a line, don't be afraid to squiggle on it or make circles or what have you. Break it. Yes, you can break the line. You can smash it. You can even crush it. Yes, but never just be okay with the line. Okay, where am I now? All right. Oh, now I see you're coloring it with green, huh? Okay. The color of envy. I challenge you with the red, the color of passion. What's passion? Oh, well, it's hard to explain, but I'll try my best. Keep drawing while I'm talking. It's there are a lot of things that go into it. Did you know that? Desire, love, affection, inspiration. Passion is essentially something that's within you that can't wait. It's dying to come out. Whatever emotion you have, and you just can't hold on to it any longer, you need to express it. Yes, like the people in the musicals that sing the songs. Yes, you could do that. Be one of the singers. They are bursting with passion and use music to get it out. See, when you grow old, you tend to forget where you are. You could do that, sweetheart, and you would never have to grow up. You don't want to grow up? Good. Me neither. Very good. Yes, the people in the musicals are passionate. The people with open minds and generous hearts are also passionate. Yes, you are passionate. Yeah. Passion is a gift to those that break the lines.
End of scene.